been a busy few days. Most people spend their Labor Day weekend at the lake or the beach. I spent it researching the Warrens, which is not something I necessarily planned on doing. Hello, welcome to not just any old episode of Popcorn Bucket List, essentially our Season 7 premiere.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, put in the music.
Fireworks.
Yeah. Usually there's not a lot of fanfare whenever we do a premiere just because it's a constantly running show. I mean, it's just a fancy way of us saying we've been doing this for like 7 years now, I guess, give or take. But I will say, just because of timing, it is kind of. Did I just blow your mind?
You did.
It's roughly 7 years.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the first few seasons were monthly, so there wasn't as many episodes.
Yeah, that's true.
And all that. So I don't know.
That's true.
It's like 5.5 or something like that. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's give or take. Give or take 7 years. But there is one big milestone we are approaching here.
Yep.
And it's episode 200.
That's wild.
We're looking forward to that later on this month. 200 PBL episodes coming up here at the end of September. So is a little bit of something special here all month long. We're going to be releasing bloopers from the past season. It's sort of a little bit of a build-up for here. So every Tuesday, make sure you check out on YouTube, probably our social media channels as well. We'll be posting just little snippets here these next 4 weeks. As first of all, like we try to release a blooper reel around this time anyway. Yeah. But now I just want to draw it out a little bit here, build up to 200, and
I like it.
Some potential fun stuff there yet to be determined, but definitely be looking forward to that one here. So for context, welcome to 197 episode of PBL and 200 right around the corner here.
200.
Can I see 200? Yeah, in about a few weeks here.
In 2 weeks.
But let's just move on here to the opening spotlight because this is going to be a little bit of a longer one here. I'm going to be guessing because, we've done deep dives. We've done timeline explanations before. I'll admit, I think I swam a little bit deeper here this time.
Yeah, there's a lot to this.
I was not touching the bottom, but I definitely swam a little bit farther down than I did.
It was where you swam down, you thought you were at the bottom, and you went to put your feet down, and it's like, oh, I'm not at the bottom yet. And then you realize there's a lot more down there, and then you swim back up. Yeah,
there's a lot more to this, but we're going to cover as much as we can while also keeping things moving. It's a real fine line here, but I definitely put in a little bit more research than I usually do with these.
Yep.
It's been a busy few days. Most people spend their Labor Day weekend at the lake or the beach. I spent it researching the Warrens, which is not something I necessarily planned on doing, but here we are. Yeah, that's right. We got a new Conjuring movie coming out here this weekend, Conjuring Last Rites. So we thought we would do a little bit of a timeline explanation. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but because some of these movies do kind of sort of tie into some real life events here, we're also going to sort of go off the freeway a few times, make a few stops, and also talk about some of the quote-unquote true stories.
Yes, the true stories.
And I feel like, well, okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, we should, kind of like what you're saying, we should say the story or events that inspired this, because depending on what you believe and what you think, the truth can be this or can be that.
Yeah. I feel like we have to get in front of this here. We are not going to necessarily say what we believe is true, what's happened, our thoughts on it, to be honest, mainly because I'm not really sure what my thoughts are on it in general. But I want to get ahead of this. When I say true story throughout this discussion or throughout this explanation, I'm simply saying here's what people who experienced this said what happened in real life.
Yep.
I'm not necessarily saying this has exactly happened, but if I had to specify that every single time, this episode would be 50 minutes in the opening spotlight alone. So for time-saving purposes, when I say true story, that does not necessarily mean I am saying this is exactly what happened.
Yep.
I'm not denying it either. I was not there.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the people who were there tell their stories. But we have movies that are connected to these true stories, and you have the fictionalized movie version, and we are going to talk a little bit about what happened.
The real life version.
The real life version, yes. So I just want to get that disclaimer out there. So if I say stuff like true story, this is what really happened, this is not me necessarily saying this is what really happened. I'm just saying that so that way we can save a little bit of time here as well. But also just a quick little explanation here. We're going to be going over these movies in the Conjuring universe in chronological order. That's part of the reason why we're doing this timeline breakdown. The movies are kind of all over the place.
All over.
You got sequels to one that's actually a prequel to both, and then you have these two that take place way before the other, but actually they introduced the character to both those movies before that movie ever came out.
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack.
It's wild.
So like I said, I did a lot of research on this one here. So let's just get into it. Let's just break it down. The Conjuring universe, like I said, these movies, some of them are 100% fiction. Some of them are a little bit of true story here. So let's break down each and every one of those. But first things first, if we're going to talk about the chronological timeline here, we got to start back in the 1950s. The Nun is the fifth movie to be released in this series, but was the first one set timeline-wise in 1952. This is a minor spoiler, I feel like, here. Basically, this character, this demon, this bad guy or whatever, was first introduced really in The Conjuring 2, which was essentially the third movie. We'll talk a little bit more about that here later on. But this basically gives that bad guy's origin story here, essentially. How they kind of came to be when they started, messing with some stuff here and all that. And I have been binging these movies. I haven't gotten to these ones yet, but I have heard from some. These are a couple favorites.
Yeah, The Nun, I think, because the Nun, like, demon shows up in the first Conjuring movie, doesn't she, I believe? Or is
it's for sure in the second.
In the second one?
I guess they eventually say that Lauren sees the nun in a flashback in the first Conjuring movie, but we don't know that.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess, technically speaking, you're right. It does show up.
Because I just remember, like, the fans really latched on to that and were just pumped when, we're actually getting a movie about the nun. I remember people really liking that when it happened.
Yeah. You'll see this throughout the franchise here. They did very good of introducing characters and then getting fan interest ready for spinoffs here.
Yes.
This is something a lot of movie universes and franchises do, but I don't think do very well. I think the Conjuring movies do that actually fairly well.
Yeah.
They showed us the end of one character, and then we were like, well, we want to see more of them.
Yeah.
So then we got 2 more movies out of it.
Yep.
Speaking of which, then we move on to The Nun 2. This is one of the more later movies actually the latest one to be released before this new one comes out this weekend.
Yep.
Set in 1956, so just a few years after the first Nun. I don't have a lot of details on this one because I didn't want to be spoiled about these 2 movies. Again, still have to get to them.
Yep.
But, I don't know. Any thoughts on The Nun 2?
No, it just kind of dives a little bit more into that nun character. And I think with The Nun, they actually have some of their better... Obviously, there's a lot of jump scares throughout this entire thing, but I think a lot of them with The Nun are well done because it's just an uncanny-looking nun. And it kind of catches you off guard quite a bit. Like, the one I really enjoy is, like, I believe they're standing up against a wall, and it kind of looks like a painting, but then they do something. Yeah,
We were talking about this before the show, too, when we were talking about this franchise. The concept of a demonic entity that looks like a religious figure is very scary, regardless of your beliefs or whatever. So it's an interesting character, and it does play into the horror aspect a little bit easier just because of its look and everything.
Yep.
But, I mean, there's nothing too inherently creepy about it. Yeah, the face is a little, like, pale or whatever, glowing eyes. There's a little, but it's not like Pennywise with his jaw opening up with the teeth and, the alien with all the tentacle, like all that. It looks the most human out of all the demons we've seen in these movies.
I agree.
But it's almost the scariest. So. Yeah, interesting character they established there. In case I didn't say this, though, before, these 2 ones completely fictionalized. Just something to add to...
Wait, those aren't real?
I hope not. I hope not. I'm going to be saying that about a lot here. I hope that's not real. But, a little
just
bit
for
more,
the movies.
Yeah, adds to the lore of the universe. But another movie that adds to the actual history here of the universe, this fictionalized universe, I should say, we're going to stay in the 50s. Annabelle Creation. Now, this was the second Annabelle movie to be released, fourth movie overall to be released, but set third in the timeline here. Basically, this shows the fictional origin story to the Annabelle doll. Now, even people who aren't fans of this franchise have probably heard of the Annabelle doll.
Yep.
Now, especially thanks to Matt Rife. I have actually a funny thing to say about that when we get to the Conjuring later on, too. But, just shows... It's, like I said, completely fictionalized, but it actually does a pretty good job of tying into the established story later on, I would think.
And there's so many people that know about the real, like, Raggedy Ann doll that was demonic or whatever, however you want to say that. There is a lot of history and lore around that, and obviously they had to... That's probably one of their most famous cases.
Easily their most recognizable, for sure. Just on a personal note with this movie, however, again, I've only seen the first four now. I'm going through them all right now, but honestly, this one's the most creepiest, I think so. So far that I've seen, I guess. The first two Conjuring movies are great, and they got creepy moments. Annabelle, the first one, honestly, I didn't do anything to me, honestly. So it almost made me let my guard down with Annabelle Creation. I was like, they kind of did all they did with Annabelle. I wasn't really scared by it in that first movie. Probably not going to be scared by this one here. No, this one actually really terrified me.
And then gotcha.
Yeah, made me turn on the lights about partway through. I'm willing to admit that. That's a true story. I'm not lying about that.
There you
go. So kind of got me tied back into this franchise here a little bit, I'd say. But also a little bit more entertaining because this one, is 100% fiction, too. That's another little aspect here I think we'll talk about more later on.
Yep.
But moving on to some more Annabelle talk, we now jump about 12 years to 1970. Now we're hitting to where the main kind of part of the timeline is going to be taking place here, early 70s. This is where a lot of the movies are taking place. Overall, this was the second movie to be released. The first Conjuring movie comes out. People love it. They love the movie in general. They love the characters of the Warrens. But a lot of people talk about the Annabelle doll. They're like, we really like that.
Yep.
And I think the studios knew that going in because this movie came out like less than a year after that first one.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah, so not a lot of time to get this one ready to go. And I think it shows. As I kind of already alluded to, so far this is my least favorite one. It's really not that scary to me. There's not a lot of story. To be fair, when you look at the real-life story of Annabelle, there's not a lot of story there.
No.
They do a pretty good job of summarizing it within the first 5 minutes of The Conjuring.
Here's the whole life story.
You get a lot of the details you need to know just in those first few minutes. And here they just tried to... I mean, to be fair, they did try to connect it to historical events, the Satanic Panic, the Charles Manson case, all that. I don't know. It just didn't do much for me, I suppose. So, however, it was interesting. They do try to establish sort of an origin story to the name of Annabelle, and Annabelle Creation talks about this as well. In this case, the doll is possessed by a cult member named Annabelle, and that's how it gets its name. In real life, again, a medium claimed that it was a 6-year-old girl named Annabelle who was, essentially possessing this doll. However, some religious people then talk about, well, no, it was actually a demon tricking people into thinking it was a little girl kind of controlling this doll and everything. So, but then we move on to before we get to that.
Before we get there,
I found a very interesting fun fact. If
Let's
my
hear
thing would scroll down here. For some reason, it's being very slow here today, my laptop. So I was curious because I was watching this Annabelle movie and I was seeing the lead actress there. I was like, I've recognized her in some things. I'm curious what she's in. So I looked up on IMDb as I'm watching the movie. Guess what the lead actress's real life name is?
Annabelle.
It is. No joke.
That's crazy.
I thought that was pretty crazy. The real life actress's name is Annabelle. Do you think she went into the audition like that? It's just like, my real name is Annabelle.
You have to give me the part.
They're like, you're hired.
You got it.
Or do you think she went into it and was like, it wasn't even thinking that, but was like, yeah, my name is Annabelle, and they just thought she was being method? They're like, I like the dedication this girl's going for right here.
This girl's a little weird, but
what if she went into it thinking, oh, this is a movie called Annabelle. I'm perfect for this. But it was a horror movie.
And not even realize it was about the demonic Annabelle. All three great theories.
You never know.
I just thought that was interesting. You have supposedly this doll that was actually in real life, supposedly possessed by a girl named Annabelle. But then here, how many years later, you have a movie about Annabelle being played with a girl who's named Annabelle. Coincidence? I think not. Anyways, so I just had to get that out there. That kind of.
It's an interesting little factoid.
Yeah, I found that to be more interesting than the movie itself. I'm just gonna say that. But anyways, so let's move on here to 1971. This is when the first Conjuring movie is set. Released back in 2013, the very first one to come out here. This is the one that essentially started this whole franchise, and some people have argued have sort of actually kicked off this horror renaissance.
I would almost agree with that. I don't know about them solely kicking it off, but I will say this was a good movie put out at the right time where people started to look at horror movies again and give them a chance at the theaters, I believe.
It definitely helped. That's for sure.
And it was pretty good. From what granted, I haven't seen this in many years, but from what I remember, I really liked it.
Yeah. Overall, it was very well received by fans and all that, and critics as well. But basically, the movie itself talks about the Perrin family. Now, in the movie, Perrin family moves into a house. Turns out it's cursed by a demon, so people keep having these terrible deaths there, and they're kind of next in line. They get in contact with the Warrens, who kind of move in, document the paranormal activity, and, they essentially do their own exorcism, even though he's technically not allowed to do that.
Not really supposed to do that, but...
You don't have... I mean, it's kind of like driving. Do you need a license to drive? Yes, legally speaking, but can you drive if you're just kind of taught? Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
I guess. So
just can't get caught. That's the thing.
You just can't
with
get
both
caught.
These things, don't get caught.
Yeah, if the priest has to be like, I don't know, demon just left itself.
I was just talking. And,
it just happened. No, whatever. But yeah, so Ed Warren essentially performs the exorcism himself, saving the family and all that. If you jump to the true story here, there's a lot of the same setup is true. You have a real life family called the Perrin family. They move into this simply unassuming house. Really, what's interesting, if you kind of look into this, is there's not as much backstory, however. There is supposedly one death that happened actually on the premises of a woman named Bathsheba, who they end up using that name in the movie as the name of the demon here. However, there's no real thought that
it's just a sweet name. They wanted to include it.
It is kind of a cool name.
It is.
And they needed to make it spooky, but in real life, there was nothing necessarily spooky about it. Yeah. Just for some reason, all of a sudden, this house had all these terrible things happening to it. There's no real rhyme or reason, as the movie gives, like a real rhyme and reason to this happening, however. Now, in the movie, the Warrens essentially kind of save the family in this epic, kind of exorcism kind of way. In real life, from what I could find, the Warrens came in, they did a little bit of investigating. They held what was called a seance, which is not an exorcism, but that caused, reportedly, the mother to get possessed. The father then threw the Warrens out, thinking that they just made things worse.
Yeah.
Again, reportedly, after that, things did calm down, however. So you could still say the Warrens helped this family, but it wasn't like the grandiose saving the day kind of thing that the movie shows, which I get.
Yeah.
You can't have the movie end with him be like, get out of our house.
Get out of here.
Get out. Yeah, you made things worse. It's just not as good of an ending there. So, but again, reportedly it did help. They didn't have anything necessarily terrible happen again. So, I don't know. It's interesting because kind of the first part was pretty much beat for beat the same thing. Second half, they kind of do their own thing in the movie here.
Yep.
But like I said, when that started,
got to make it a compelling story.
You do gotta do that. Next movie set here in the timeline. We're gonna jump. Okay. So it's interesting because certain parts take place before The Conjuring. Majority of this, I believe, happens in 1972. However, we're gonna talk about Annabelle Comes Home. Now, this is another one that's completely fictionalized, has nothing to do with real life events, but it focuses more on Ed and Laurene Warren's real-life daughter, Judy. Now, she is real. She's still alive today, and she was very involved in their paranormal activities later on in life. Obviously, you kind of grow up around that stuff. You really kind of limited in your career options.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah. So in this one, basically, it's basically young Judy versus Annabelle. At this point, Annabelle has now become in the Warrens' possession, and
in their museum.
Yeah, essentially their museum
location.
Yeah. Creepiest collection ever. I would say, of Ed's for sure. But basically, I think in the story is one of the babysitters like lets the doll out, and then now they got to face off against the doll at their house. So it really was. Judy had been featured in a few of these movies before.
Yeah.
She was a very side character. She wasn't really focused on. Here, we finally got to see her in her own kind of movie.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, and I believe in real life, she's a little more distant than.
Yeah, I guess I should say she.
I shouldn't say distant, but she's not as involved in their things as much as she's portrayed in the movie.
She's aware of it and all
Yeah.
that sort of, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But the reason why I bring that up is because when we talk about Last Rites, it seems like Judy is going to be a little bit more involved here in the movie. So this was sort of that first seed being planted.
Introduction.
There.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to take a little bit of a side moment here and talk about a few things, kind of take a break from the timeline here and talk about another real life thing that was happening at this actual time, 1973 specifically. I saw a documentary as I was researching this, a real quick one on HBO Max that actually talked about the Warrens a little bit, and they brought up this very interesting point. All these cases they've been dealing with, all these things, they are known in the paranormal community, and if stuff happens to you and you need their help, you can eventually get in contact with them, but they're not publicly known, really. That is until 1973. There's a big thing that happens there. The movie The Exorcist comes out, and now the whole world
changes the whole. You're right. The Exorcist changed the world.
Yeah.
With the power of film.
I mean, we argued at the beginning of this summer that Exorcist should actually be considered to be the first blockbuster.
Yeah.
So it affected culture in multiple ways.
Yeah.
First of all, in pop culture, but second of all, now the whole world is starting to look at this and being like, okay, if this is real, like who do we call to help us with this sort of
and
stuff?
I've heard of this happening to so and so over there. Maybe they aren't BSing me. Maybe it is real.
Yeah, it made people kind of look at it in a whole new lens. And then all of a sudden people start doing research and they find out, hey, there's these Warrens people. They've been dealing with this for like a decade now.
They've been doing this for a long time, yeah.
And so now it finally put the spotlight on them and their activities. And one of the other things that the documentary kind of pointed out that I thought was very interesting is the Warrens did not necessarily seek out popularity from this. Mm-hmm. They just wanted to help people. However, Ed eventually kind of figured out, well, we can kind of use this to our advantage.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while, they'd be on this case, and a lot of times they were sent by the church or whatever to just kind of scout it out.
Yep.
Be like, okay, are these people faking, or do you think this is actually real? Do we need to call in some higher-ups here to actually do some, exorcism stuff or whatever? And every once in a while, he would go to a house, and he would think so. But the church would be like, we don't think so.
Yep.
We're not gonna do it.
We're not gonna do it.
So he would kind of use his media spotlight now and sort of twist their arm a little bit every once in a while. I think there was like one instance in the documentary where they do kind of show like he thought this family really did need help, and the church was like, we don't know if we 100% believe it.
Yeah.
And then then he went on the news and was like, yep, the church is ignoring this family and they're getting hurt by a demon.
Yeah.
Well, now the church has to acknowledge
now
this.
The church has
because now
to
they look like bad guys.
Yep.
And to be fair, I want to add a little bit more context to this as well. Part of the reason why sometimes the church wouldn't send someone is because they didn't want this whole hubbubaloo of sending a cardinal or whatever to do this public exorcism and find out, it was all hoax.
Yep.
That makes them look bad too.
See, and I always think of, I don't remember what the name of the scary movie was that had Russell Crowe as like
Pope's
the Pope.
Exorcist?
The Pope's Exorcist.
Yep.
At the beginning, where he does like an exorcism on the girl, and then when he walks out, I don't remember if he talks to a villager or to like the Pope guy and was like, yeah, no, she was just unwell. I just told her I did an exorcism.
He did a fake exorcism to get him into the
get her into the right mindset that she was healed.
Yeah. So I just found that interesting. Finally this media spotlight is thrust upon them, and at first they weren't necessarily looking for it, but now he's like, well, we could use it to our advantage every once in a while.
Yeah.
We could use this. We could work with this. So I thought that was all kind of interesting. I'm also going to say tentatively, there is a movie that's debated whether or not it's in this chronological timeline.
Yep.
The Curse of La Llorona. Let's see if we can do that again. The Curse of La Llorona.
And there's about 10 of these movies that were all made in the past, 10 years probably. So
I would say this is the one that's the most debated whether or not it's part of the Conjuring timeline. And the main reason is because a lot of the same producers that worked on these movies was in this one as well.
Yeah.
And it does look and sound exactly like those movies.
Sounds like it, yeah.
However, even the director himself has come out and said, "No, it's not." I don't know. It's up to debate.
Yeah, kind of is, kind of not.
I leave it up to you, folks. I suppose it depends. I guess it depends on which one of these creepy creatures you believe in and actually exist. Or whatever. So, but let's move on here back to the actual timeline here. Move on to The Conjuring 2. This one kind of takes place 1976, 1977. The movie starts with one of the most infamous real-life hauntings, the Amityville Horror, as it's known. And I believe it's gotten its own movie as well.
Oh, it's got a ton of movies.
There's a lot of things inspired from this.
Yep.
But this movie just kind of briefly touches on it and shows, hey, the Warrens were there. They did something about it.
Moving on.
Yeah, we're moving on. It's just the opening scene.
Yeah.
It's just the opening action scene you see in a movie or a spy movie or whatever.
Yep.
Does it have anything to do with the plot? No, but it looked cool.
No, but it was cool. It was a way to introduce the characters again and move on.
Yeah. But, when you look at this whole scene, however, this is the part that kind of really officially introduces the nun character and showing that it's been kind of connected to the Warrens, at least for a few years here.
Yep.
And has been specifically kind of tormenting Lorraine. So we would, the nun that we saw established in the 50s, this is the first time we're seeing her in this franchise as a release order here. But the story mainly focuses on the Enfield haunting. Now, this was a reported haunting that happened in London. In the movie, the Warrens officially investigate it. They help the family out. They do the thing again. They stop the demon. They save the day. All that fun stuff.
All is good.
Similar to The Conjuring, however, that's not what happened in real life. In fact, actually, less happened here, I would argue. From what I could find, in real life, reportedly, the Warrens heard about it. They traveled to London. They checked out the house for like a day, and then they left. Why they did stick around, I couldn't really find a reason.
And making that journey in the 70s, a little different than that today.
I got to assume they were there for some other reason, and this was just a tourist stop for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nothing like in the movie here where you see Ed like there for days, like fixing up the house, helping him out. Lorraine's like helping the kids and all that, and then they finally beat the demon, save them all. Yeah, here they popped in for a spot of tea, checked it out.
Spotted dick.
Stopped, checked it out, and said their goodbyes, I guess. So yeah, but yeah, reportedly was a real haunting again. So a little bit of truth here, reportedly with this movie. But then we move on to about 4 or 5 years later, I guess, roughly, Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Basically, this story, like I said, set in 1981. In the movie, a man called Arnie Johnson is arrested for murdering his landlord. However, he claims not guilty for reason of demonic possession as his legal defense. This is the first time in legal history. And in the movie, the Warrens are called in to kind of investigate this. Well, actually, they were already a part of it. I should say. I should back up. I missed a detail there. They were part of a demonic possession, and supposedly that demon got out of the kid, moved into Arnie, and then started this whole chain of events.
Okay.
In real life, pretty much the same setup once again, actually. Reportedly, the Warrens were there to help with this case. Supposedly the demon possessed this Arnie guy. He actually did, unfortunately, commit murder and used demonic possession as his legal defense. First time in history. So they got that part. That whole setup is the same. Happened in real life. What's different between the movie and real life is in the movie, this whole investigation of the Warrens actually ties them into a cult that was actually established in the first Annabelle movie. I think this is like the goat cult or goat worshippers or something like that or whatever. But they're this evil cult or whatever. Connects them to that. In this movie, they couldn't necessarily save Arnie. He unfortunately did get convicted, went to prison. I can't remember for how long or whatever. But yeah, there wasn't this huge cinematic investigation happening there, unfortunately. So, but that leads us to Conjuring Last Rites. This one's set in 1986. According to the trailers, this is the case that made them quit the game.
Ooh.
But that's all I'm going to leave it at with there. Because I didn't do much research in this one because I didn't want to be spoiled in this one.
I agree because I wanted to even watch the trailer, but I chose not to because I especially with horror movies, it doesn't matter to me. I love horror movies. I'm going to go watch them. So I don't spoil it. I don't want to know about it. But I am excited to see it. I've always enjoyed these movies. Rewatchability for me is not super great, but I enjoy watching them at least once in the theater.
Well, with that, that kind of wraps up our Conjuring timeline here. Let us know, what is your favorite movie in the Conjuring universe, or the CCU, as I like to call it, the Conjuring Cinematic Universe.
CCU.
Some of these really do roll off the tongue.
They do.
MCU started all, and
I want the dark cinematic universe. That's the one that I want.
You want your dark cinematic universe
with Tom Cruise too. I like that. Not really, but I want him back in there. Make it Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible Dark Cinematic Universe. Let's go.
Okay, so let us know your favorite Conjuring movie, or tell us what universe you want us to randomly bring back. I guess whatever, that answers the question I posed before. But let us know in the comments down below. And I don't know, is there a case you've maybe read about of the Warrens that you wish they would turn into a movie? They're talking about this is the last one, but there are hundreds of them.
Yes,
before
there is some. I've listened to a couple on Spotify. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I remember listening to them and thinking, this would be really cool to see. Like, I'd like to see a video of this.
This whole movie, so far the movies I've seen so far, has made me actually wish more for a Justice League Dark Universe movies to set up. And they could do it. You got Peter Safran, who produced these movies. He's part of the DCU right now.
Yeah.
James Wan, he did a few of these. He's done DC Comics movies before with Aquaman and I think one of the Shazams or something like that. Or he helped produce one of them because one of the girls in Shazam, she's in the Annabelle creation one as well, I noticed. So you got the pieces there. And I think it'd be really cool to do a Justice League Dark. Basically the Warrens, but with Constantine.
Constantine.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So,
Constantine, that was a good movie too.
Yeah,
it was okay. It was okay.
That's a conversation for another day. Hey, we talk a lot about movies on this channel, but sometimes the ones we talk about aren't the most accessible. That's where the Marshall-Lyon County Library comes in handy. They have a great collection of physical media, as well as a couple of online services with many, many options for movies, TV shows, and documentaries. It's easy. Just get your own library card at the Marshall-Lyon County Library and gain access to their large variety of movies, TV shows, and of course, books. Also, be sure to check back every month as we here at Popcorn Bucket List make specific movie recommendations based on a monthly theme. So head on over to the Marshall-Lyon County Library for some of our favorites and check out the channel to get even more movie recommendations. And now, on with the show! Anyways, let's move things along here. Like I said, there was a lot to cover here, so let's just quickly get through the weekly preview here. But we're not done talking about The Conjuring just yet. That's right, Conjuring Last Rites coming to theaters here. The year is 1986, and a new case has come across the Warrens' desk. A family moves into a new home and almost immediately gets haunted by a demon. Ed and Laurene head over to stop this entity, only to learn it's the demon haunting this family that was the first demon they encountered. Time to finish the job.
Yep.
Been
one last ride.
Yeah, I was gonna say this movie almost gives off Fast and Furious vibes,
family.
Where it is kind of it's family because you got Judy, and it's like we're gonna do one last exorcism, babe, for family,
1 quarter mile at a time.
There's a way we could spin this one
demon at a time.
One demon at a time. One
exorcism at a time.
There we go. Yep. Exorcism. Yeah. One last exorcism, family. Here we go. That should be the tagline.
That should be it.
Here. But yeah, it includes the daughter Judy, as well as they're finally introducing the boyfriend Tony Spera, who is also a real life person and was I think a little bit more involved in this stuff than Judy was.
Yeah. Well, that's your end.
Yeah.
If you're Tony, that's your end.
Yeah. The Warrens actually were recruiting. Like they did get to a point where, and this is another thing I saw in the documentary, where there were so many cases they were like, okay, we need to actually start hiring some people and start training them to do this too and everything. So, I don't know what Tony and Judy's story is, but I mean, if his whole goal was to be recruited into the family, well, there you go.
Yep,
got it right there.
Yep.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one here?
I'm excited to see it. Will it be the final one? I don't know, but because I could see them easily doing this, and then in a couple years they'll do one from back before, talking about maybe the birth or beginning of some demon that they maybe had a side character in some of these movies, or even whatever demon or thing entity is in this movie, maybe the movie in 2 or 3 years will be the backstory for that one. So,
what I think they're going to do is, I think this is the actors' last time doing these characters, as much as they love them. Because you notice in the trailer, they do show a flashback. They do show a couple younger versions of these two with different actors.
So maybe that's where they're going.
I would not be at all surprised if they're like, well, this is the last story we're going to tell chronologically.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's how many of these cases these guys did that they're going to be like, well, we'll just recast some younger ones and we'll just do some of these other
stories,
and everything. That's where I think they're going to go with
I think so,
At least that's what I would do.
And this is a film or series where you can do that. And it's not weird or out of place. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of these movies have been all over the place. So I don't know. The one thing I noticed about this trailer that made me realize about the whole series that I've seen so far, they've managed to be very scary, but not very bloody. Mm-hmm. Like there's a few where you kind of like, did it need to be rated R? Like I think they could have gotten away with PG-13.
Yep.
But this one does look to be the bloodiest yet. I mean, heck,
and going out with the bang.
I was gonna say, if this is your grand finale, might as well.
Yep.
But I do appreciate that, the fact that these movies have been scary in the past, but they're not too terribly gory.
Yep. So. I do like that too. I also don't like it, but I also like it. I can appreciate the art of it.
Yeah. You like your
but I do like the
I sat next to you during Terrifier 3. You like your gore too.
It was awesome.
Any other thoughts about this one before we move on here?
Nope.
Like I said, we've focused a lot on opening spotlights. So we're gonna kind of skip through these a little bit quicker than usual. But also coming out to theaters here, Light of the World. Basically, this movie is perfect for those of you who watch The Conjuring and decide you need to go to church.
Yep.
It'd be an interesting double feet
feature action.
As the title implies here, this is an animated movie that shows the story of Jesus becoming the Messiah, that whole New Testament story and all that. But this time shown a little bit more from the perspective of John, Apostle John, it looks like here. So,
yep. The animation looks like almost like some of those Bible comic books that are out there, or like the Bible like kids version that looks more comic booky. It looks like that brought to the big screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think 2D animation is a little underrated as an animation art style and everything like that. So I think it does look good. It looks like good animated. There's some work put into it here, so it'll be a good movie for young kids. And like I said, if you feel like you need to
cleanse
yourself after watching The Conjuring, or maybe watch it before The Conjuring, so that way you go in with a little bit of head of steam there with the big guy. I don't know, but interesting 1-2 punch for sure there. But also coming out here, last but certainly not least, Highest to Lowest. This is an Apple TV Plus movie rated R, starring Denzel Washington in the latest Spike Lee joint, as they're known. He plays a music mogul in New York City whose son, unfortunately, is kidnapped and held for ransom. Surprisingly, it's been a minute since Denzel and Spike Lee have worked together.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
It feels like it's one of those things I was almost like, yeah, these guys work together. It's always worked, whatever. Last time was 22 years ago.
Oh. For
context, I'm like 28. So that was a while ago, to say the least. Another interesting, though, Spike Lee movie. Those have always pretty much been good. Denzel Washington, I will go on to say one of the best actors, I think, working in Hollywood right now.
I agree with that 100%.
So, movie also stars Jeffrey Wright, who I think is kind of a little bit more the serious comic relief here as well.
Yeah, and it was weird because I didn't recognize him right away in the trailer. After I saw his name, I was like, oh, that's that guy. Okay. It was like, I had no idea. He does a great job.
Yeah. Well, with that, let's move on to some number one recommends, the part of the show where we kind of wrap things up and talk about things we've seen recently that we think you should all check out as well. Mr. Marburg, I have you listed first, so why don't you kick us off?
I got bad news. I might have to throw it to Carter.
Little audible.
Yep. With school starting and football and busy time.
So in that case, Carter, have you seen or watched anything recently that you think other people should check out?
This one is maybe a little bit older. I had a professor recommended it to me, actually. But L.A. Confidential. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and if you haven't seen it, I think it's a pretty good watch.
For my number one recommend, I guess I've been so preoccupied watching the Conjuring movies now. I guess I gotta recommend one of those.
There you go.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna shout out Annabelle Creation. Again,
All right.
I don't think it's my favorite one, but I do think it's the scariest one I've seen so far.
Okay.
And I do think for it being a prequel, which I generally hate,
Yeah.
this was pretty good prequel. This was a pretty good prequel. So if you don't necessarily want to fully indulge yourself in the Conjuring universe like I have been, if you just want a good scare that's not really connected. I mean, okay, it is, but you don't need to know any of that information really going into this movie.
Yeah.
You can kind of enjoy it on your own here, I think. And then, yeah, you'll be able to have yourself a good scare there. So, yeah, Annabelle Creation. I guess that's my soft recommend here this week.
Very good. Good picks.
But that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Season 7 premiere. Popcorn Bucket List, I should say here. Be on the lookout for our latest library display. Like you said, you've been busy. I've been busy. We didn't really get to that this week. We'll probably talk about that later. Yeah. We'll get to that here. So be on the lookout for that new display. I believe, what did we do last month? Just kind of back to school.
Back to school
so
dread.
That's actually still kind of relevant right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe we'll just keep that up for September.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We'll come up with something new.
We'll find something else.
But, yeah, you get an extra week. Check that out if you missed out on it. You get an extra week. Little bonus for you there. Also, look forward to some fun things coming up for our 200th episode. Like I said, coming up later on this month. And finally, make sure you check out the description, below here of the YouTube video to check out other channels here on YouTube. For myself, Ryan, and Carter, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.